Dear learners, welcome to this video lecture on socialization, which is meant for the MA first semester learners of Sociology. Now let us try to understand what are the unit objectives. So, after going through this unit, you will be able to know the concept of socialization in detail, discuss the importance of socialization in society, and explain the various agencies of socialization. Now, in the previous units, we have discussed about various aspects of a society, be it community, culture, institutions, norms, values, and many others. But as a member of a particular society, how do we come to know these aspects? Or in other words, how do we come to know what we are supposed to do after we wake up in the morning or in our workplace, in the marketplace? In other words, how do we carry our everyday life? So, the process by which a society teaches its members about various aspects of the society which helps us to cooperate with one another is known as socialization. It is a process through which an individual is integrated into a society and thereby he or she becomes a social being. Now there are many forms of socialization. Let us try to discuss about that. In the book Sociology, Ian Robertson has talked about 4 types of socialization. They are primary socialization, anticipatory socialization, developmental socialization, and re-socialization. Now what is primary socialization? This is the first form of socialization process. This kind of socialization takes place during the early stage of an individual's life. It relates to the teaching of language and cognitive skills, the internalization of cultural norms and values, establishment of emotional ties, and the appreciation of other roles and perspectives that we learn in our families. The second is anticipatory socialization. Now it is often assumed that since individuals belong to a particular cultural group, he or she would internalize values, norms, as well as the ways of a society from his or her own group. However, individuals might also learn different cultures and ways of life from groups to which they do not belong, but they want to become a member of that group. So, such a process whereby an individual socialize themselves into the culture of a group with the anticipation of joining that group is referred by sociologists as anticipatory socialization. We anticipate to become a part of that group once we learn their ways and manners. The next is developmental socialization. This kind of learning is based on the achievements of primary socialization. It builds on an already acquired knowledge as the adult progresses through new situations, such as once an individual is married or once an individual gets recruited in a new job, he or she learns new things. These require new expectations, obligations, and roles. So, new learning is added to and blended with the old in a relatively smooth and continuous process. Then we have re-socialization. It is a process of learning new norms, values, attitudes, behaviors. For example, when we were a child, perhaps we have learned different things. But for example, when an individual goes or gets admitted to a new college, attends the hostel life, so for the first time, in order to cooperate with other members in that surrounding, she requires to adjust himself with his or her roommate. So she will be learning new rules and regulations, which perhaps is very different from the ones he had learned earlier in his life or her life. Now finally, What is the importance of socialization in a society? First of all, as we have already discussed, it is only through socialization that a biological being converts into a social being, because we learn to cooperate with one another. How do we cooperate? When we have a common uniform set of rules and regulations which we all follow, then we become social. Then socialization contributes to the development of a personality. Socialization helps a person to become disciplined. What we are supposed to do after waking up. After that, how to complete a work efficiently. All these are part of a culture that we are socialized into. Then socialized helps an individual to enact different roles. How one is supposed to behave when one is in a classroom. How one is expected to behave in a parliament. Now, we don't know that, but it is the society that gradually teaches us how we are supposed to behave in different situations. There is a meeting, how you are supposed to behave. There is a party, how you are supposed to behave. So these are all taught through the socialization process. It also provides knowledge of skills. The animals do not know the skill of cooking food, but this is something very taken for granted skill that we are taught by our society gradually since our birth, after our birth. Then it helps to develop the right aspiration in life, what we are going to do after we reach a certain point of time. So it is taught through the socialization process. It contributes to the stability of a social order. Then it helps to reduce the social distance. Finally, socialization provides the scope for building a bright future by turning individuals into responsible members of society. So, before driving a car, we will be taught how the rules and regulations that we are supposed to follow. Before marriage, we will be taught the expected behavior. So these kind of things ensure there is stability in society, stability in family, stability in society. Now, okay, fine, we learn all these things. Now, who teaches us all those things and how it takes place? So there are various agencies of socialization. The first and foremost being the family, where we are born. So it is the most important primary group that brings about socialization in an infant. It is the parent or the immediate family that teaches the child to respond to light, they respond to sound, voice, to respond to emotions. So it is a family where we learn the basic things, basic behavior or basic values of a particular culture. Then comes our friends or the peer group. It is another important primary agency of socialization. A peer group is a group of individuals of roughly the same age group who are linked by common interests. The relation between the child and her playmates or friends is one of mutual understanding or equality. They are mostly of similar age and hence the information is shared in a very informal manner. So we see that children learn a lot from their friends, because in an informal setting they tend to learn it more quickly. So different groups, even after we grow up, we have different clubs, we have informal groups of friends in our office. So these kind of groups helps in socialization, changing our attitudes, changing our mindset, etc. Then comes the educational institutions, beginning with the school. So the school is the second agency of socialization, or a secondary agency of socialization, but it is a very powerful one because it lays the foundation of ideas, attitudes within an individual that shapes an individual's identity at a very basic level. At school, the child learns to be the part of a larger group of similar age. This helps in building up his or her personality. Hence, school exposes children to new challenges gradually. In family or in the peer group, the setting is very informal and the child is readily accepted. But in the school, the child is exposed to a formal setting. Then comes the workplace. Workplace is another important agent of socialization, where the individual meets different people belonging to different society, different cultural background, and it helps the individual to broaden their horizon. As we have already discussed earlier, that the cultural beliefs or norms vary from one society to another society, and when we remain within one society, we tend to believe this is only the right way of doing things, or this is only the right way of thinking. But when we get exposed to other forms of values, beliefs and lifestyle, we tend to broaden our vision or broaden our horizon about notions of like what is right and what is wrong. We tend to become less judgmental by then. Then comes religious institutions. Religious institutions too play a very significant role in the socialization process, as it teaches us what an individual or the members of that group is supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. Then finally, the state. The state is an authoritarian agency. It makes law for the people and lays down the mode of conduct expected for them. The people are supposed to obey these laws. These laws in turn shape and mold the individual's behavior. Now, schemes like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan are implemented to ensure cleanliness. So it is a kind of scheme that is introduced by the government to mold the social behavior of an individual towards a desired end. Then finally, we have the mass media. Mass media is another important source of socialization. There are many types of mass media, like the newspaper, the magazines, the television, the radio, the social media, where we are exposed to diverse ideas, diverse beliefs, value system. Nowadays we we are exposed to different culture through mass media, different dressing style, different way of thinking, different way of doing things, all are there out there in the mass media. And we have seen during the lockdown phase that it was the mass media through which people began learning many things. Through the online platform, we are not only learning the formal curriculum, but also many new skills are learned through the mass media. So today in this video lecture, we have discussed that we are not born as social beings, but gradually society shapes us into a social being, and this very process is known as socialization. Thank you.